of shadows.
Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited that you guys are here and I hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you, when this video finally reaches you. For today's video, we're going to be diving into yet another true crime case. And this is one that I'm really interested to share with you guys because if you were on TikTok in the past year, I'm assuming that you've at one point or another seen a court video from this particular case. But before we get into this particular case, I just want to remind you guys and let you know that my spiritual shop, Crystal Clarity, has a crystal love kit available right now, but it's only available until the 15th of February. So if you guys want to get yours, I will have a link down below. But with that being said, let's get into this case. So if you've spent time on TikTok within the past year or so, as I mentioned, I'm sure at one point or another you've seen this face. This is the face of Isabella Guzman, who became a meme and quite honestly TikTok famous for the faces that she made within the court. There was a trend circulating where people would try to recreate the many faces of Isabella, and it was a really big trend at the time on TikTok. Now, what was really disappointing about this trend is that along with the trend came false information in regards to her case, and Isabella developed a fan base, so to speak, of people who sympathized with her and said she was far too pretty and far too cute to have committed such a crime, and that whomever she'd killed must have deserved it because look at that face. And there was also videos circulating of Isabella in court with the song Sweet But Psycho behind it, and those videos were just all over the place, all over social media. So when I started seeing the different faces that she made in court, initially I could understand why people thought that it was kind of funny that she was interacting with the cameras and visually annoyed by them, but also her lack of visual remorse, so to speak. And so I decided to look into what exactly her crime was, what she'd done, and I was absolutely appalled, you guys, by what this 18-year-old at the time had done. So today we're going to dive into Isabella's disturbing crime and what led to her winding up in that courtroom on that day. And I would love to know all of your guys' thoughts, theories, and opinions. But one thing that I will say is that Isabella's family has kept pretty quiet, and so there's not too many details regarding this particular case, but I'll do the best that I can to go through Isabella's backstory and what led to the events that night. So Isabella was from Colorado and was born in June of 1995. Growing up, Isabella was what you could describe as a troubled child. Right from pretty much the get-go, she didn't have the greatest relationship with her biological parents, so much so that her parents would wind up divorcing early on in Isabella's life, and by the age of just 7, Isabella's mom was sending her to go live with her dad because her behavior was so out of control. So her mother Yumi sent Isabella to go and live with her biological father, Robert, though in the future she would wind up moving back in with her mother. Now, Isabella and her mom were constantly butting heads, and I understand that a lot of children go through phases where their parents are their enemy, or so they think at the time. But one thing that Isabella was very resentful towards her mother for was her mom's lower paying job. She felt as though her mother wasn't giving her the life that she deserved, and she was very resentful to her mom for not making a higher income. But Isabella's mom was described as constantly bending over backwards trying to please Isabella and give her the most that she could in the world despite her lower paying job, and Isabella was just not having it. As Isabella was getting older, she was becoming far and far more reclusive. She'd lock herself in her bedroom when she wasn't arguing with her parents, and she was just really rebellious. She would sneak boys as a teenager in and out of the house. This would frustrate her mother. She really wasn't listening at all. And then right before concluding high school, she announced that she was just going to be dropping out. School wasn't for her, which really disappointed her parents because she was so close to finishing and she just threw in the towel and gave up. It really just seemed that no matter what they would do for Isabella, absolutely nothing was enough for her, and any chance that she could get to bring out an argument specifically with her mother, she would do so. Her and her mother just did not get along. Now, I should mention that Isabella's mom did remarry a man named Ryan, and this was another trigger for Isabella, and I think it's a trigger for a lot of especially teenagers of divorced parents. When your parent finds a significant other that is not your biological parent, a lot of times children can feel as though, or teenagers can feel as though they've replaced their other biological parent. And in this case, Isabella felt as though he was replacing her father. So it was just one more reason to be resentful towards her mom. As things kept progressing between Isabella and her mother, she started sending her mom really threatening emails, deeply disturbing emails, and her mom was starting to become very afraid of her own daughter. She didn't want to sleep alone in bed at night. She didn't trust Isabella, and she felt as though Isabella was capable of acting out on these threats. Although I will say, I did read in some articles that people close to the family said that while Isabella definitely had some anger issues and, she was a troubled child, they never saw her as violent. However, she would actually spit on her mother and, as I said, write really threatening emails, which would result in the police being called on Isabella. But because Isabella wasn't acting on it, nothing was done. It was just slaps on the wrists and talking tos. But let's kind of talk about, this was brought to light afterwards, but just to provide perspective on what Isabella's recounts of her life were. Isabella didn't see things this way. She claimed, after everything would transpire, that her home was very abusive, and that because both of her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, they wanted her to be as well. And at 14, she decided she didn't want to be a part of that, and that's when the abuse worsened. So she was spinning it that she was abused and that she was enduring abuse, not that she was very abusive towards her mother. But these claims have not been proven. That's really important to say. And there are a lot of people who believe that she made this story up afterwards to gain sympathy and to also provide, a view into why she might have done what she would later do. So take that for what it is, but that is her details of her childhood afterwards. So at this point in the story, Isabella is 18 years old, and on one particular night, a fight between her and her mother erupts that is so big, the police are called to the house about her. And it was after this that Isabella would write an email to her mom, basically threatening her by saying that she was going to make up for what she'd done to her or pay for what she'd done to her. And her mom was just at her wit's end. She didn't know what more she could do. She wasn't getting through to Isabella. It seemed that the police weren't scaring Isabella. So what she decided to do was call Isabella's father and ask him to come and have an in-person conversation with her and essentially try to knock some sense into her. So he did. On August 28th, 2013, he came to the house and he and Isabella sat in the backyard in the garden and had a very long, very in-depth conversation. He basically told her that he believes that she needs to respect her parents, that they're doing the best that they can, that this behavior's got to change, something's got to give. And Isabella was pretty much a yes man in this conversation. She was agreeing with him that her behavior did need to change, saying that she was going to make the necessary changes. And as I said, it was a very long, detailed conversation that her dad thought was very positive. In fact, he left there feeling as though he had gotten through to her, that she was going to do her best to make the changes. Nobody expected it to be overnight, but they did expect that, she was going to put in the effort. And, he told her, your mom could kick you out, so I think it's time that you start respecting her. But it seems as though Isabella was just agreeing for the sake of getting out of the conversation, because later that night, what would take place is absolutely shocking. Unbelievable. That evening, after the conversation with her father, Isabella retreated back into her bedroom, which wasn't out of the ordinary. As I said, she was very reclusive, and when she wasn't arguing, she spent a lot of time in her room, away from everybody. And her mom, gets home from work. This is around 9 p.m., and she decides that she's gonna go upstairs and take a shower. So Isabella's stepfather was downstairs in the house, and his wife was going upstairs to go and take a shower. So she tells him, I'm heading up, gonna take a shower, then we're gonna go to bed. He agrees. He hears the shower turn on, so assumes that everything is fine in the house. And then a few moments later, it's like chaos just erupts in the home. There's banging, there's crashing, there's muffled like words being exchanged, and he hears his wife screaming out his name for him to come and help her. So he runs upstairs as fast as he can, and he sees that in the bathroom Isabella is in there, but she slams the door quicker than he's able to bust through, and she locks him out of the bathroom. And all he can hear from the outside is his wife screaming for him and chaos just erupting, which I can only imagine to be so traumatic. And so he's trying to get through, trying to open the door, screaming at Isabella to stop, leave your mother alone. But he realizes that he can't stop what's going on here. So he runs and grabs the phone, dials 911, and while still on the phone with 911, he goes running back upstairs. And by this point, there's blood coming out from under the bathroom door. He's on with the police, and all of a sudden he hears what people assume to be her very last words, Jehovah. And a few moments later, everything goes silent. The door opens back up. There's Isabella, knife in hand, and she walks straight out of the bathroom without even looking at him, without a smug smirk or a smile or even an expression at all, just staring straight, staring blank, and just walks out of the room and just heads out of the house. She flees the scene. So he runs into the bathroom, and it's brutal. We're not even going to describe what he could have potentially seen. Once you hear what Isabella had done, I'm sure you could imagine, but he realizes that there's nothing he can do to save her. And the police and ambulance arrive, but since he knows exactly who did it, this isn't one of those crimes where they have to interrogate anybody. They know who's just done this. A search for Isabella is launched, and they plaster her face pretty much anywhere and everywhere they can to track her down. The next morning, they received a call about a potential dead body in a parking garage in a car. And so the police arrive, and they would wind up finding Isabella. So they assume that the call was about Isabella's blood-covered body sleeping in the car. Isabella gets arrested, and then it was confirmed what she had done to her mother. Isabella had stabbed her mother 79 times in the face and the neck. In the face and the neck 79 times. And she also had beat her with a baseball bat, causing a total of 151 wounds on her mother. And when I hear that, it just goes beyond frustration. It goes beyond heat of the moment. It's so hateful, especially to the face. It's like, I can't even fathom what must have been going through her mom's mind in her final moments, that her own daughter was doing this to her. But in the heat of the moment, Isabella had also sustained some injuries on her hands from the blade as well. And so before getting taken to the police station, she was taken to the hospital, stitched up, and then taken down to the police station. So after going to the police station, one of the very first things they did, and rightfully so, was they gave Isabella a psychiatric evaluation. And it came to light that she did have schizophrenia. They realized that she had been seeing and hearing things for years, and more specifically, had voices in her mind telling her that she needed to kill somebody, and even more specifically to kill her mother, because her mother was actually a woman named Cecilia, whom Isabella had to kill in order to save the human race. This was what she believed. Now, what really shocked people was the way that she behaved in court. She had very strange facial expressions. At one point, when she looks at the camera and points to her eyes, people have interpreted that, well, we can't confirm, that she was trying to prove that she wasn't crying over what had happened, which was also just very strange. And overall, when you looked into the crime that she committed and you looked at the way she was behaving in court, it was very eerie piecing them together. Now, Isabella's defense team was claiming insanity, and ultimately, in the end, she would be found not guilty by reason of insanity. And she was sentenced to an indefinite amount of time in a psychiatric facility, basically until anybody decided that she was able to live as a functioning human being within the world and not a threat to others. She is currently in the Colorado Mental Health Institute, but she's tried to appeal and has requested many times to leave the institution, as she doesn't even feel as though she's the same person that she was back then, and she believes that now that she's medicated and has received the proper therapy, that she could function in society, and she wants to go back out into the world.
I was not myself. when I did that. And I have since been restored to full health.
But that has not happened yet, and nobody knows if or when that would happen. So the clips did blow up on TikTok of Isabella appearing in court, and initially people thought that there was two different things circulating. One was the abuse side, claiming that she'd finally fought back against her abuser and people were like cheering for her and excited for her. The other side was that she was crazy because it was said that she had stabbed her mom 151 times instead of 151 wounds and 79 times. But the comment section, you guys, people were like, she is so pretty. How could she be so cute and do this? Oh, she's sweet but a psycho. And I don't get that. I don't get that, honestly. I just think this case is far too disturbing for people to be making jokes or fangirling over her. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, a life was lost. Her mother was taken, and it was a horrific way to go, and I just don't think that it's appropriate. That's just my personal opinion. However, for those of you who might have seen the clips of Isabella in court and you didn't know the full story, I thought I would come on here and share it with you guys today. I would love to know your guys' thoughts, opinions, and theories down in the comment section below. I'll definitely be reading through them. And that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my content, I would seriously love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. I have a ton of really fascinating cases I've been dying to share with you guys coming to my channel, so make sure you have your post notifications on and that you're checking back here on my channel, because it seems like lately people haven't been getting notified for my videos. I've been getting a ton of comments about that. So just make sure you got your bell on and that you're subscribed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Until next time, do all things with kindness. I love you guys. Bye.